What's up, guys and gals? I'm your host, Mike Pugh of the FBC Virtual Channel, and you're tuning into a Blender 2.80 beta series. And this is going to be covering a fun experiment of using what is known as Rigify, the Rigify tool. So if y'all folks ever used the Rigify tool in previous versions of Blender, you will more than likely be able to relate to this video. If you never watched any of those videos and you don't know how to use Rigify, this should be interesting for you, hopefully. So what I have here is an actual rig set up through Rigify and projected into my Blender viewport. So hopefully y'all folks already know how to use Blender. If you don't know how to use Blender, you can watch previous videos from other YouTubers who are into 3D modeling. Myself, I haven't really put up how-to videos on how to get started with Blender because I'm a student and I'm not necessarily the expert in the field of 3D modeling or animation and stuff like that. But I do learn day to day. I try to build up my knowledge base, and hopefully someday I can become an instructor who can be certified on how to do it, or even if I'm not certified, at least y'all folks can learn from my how-tos. So I'm not sure if y'all folks are learning from my previous videos. Let me know if you're learning something, you're not learning something. Maybe you want to drop some comments to constructively criticize what I have to offer, whatever the case may be. These videos are all experiments in my Blender series that I'm throwing out there. But pretty much this is some of the stuff that I learned from watching YouTube videos. So I just wanted to cover that before I let this out, because some people may say, well, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, whatever the case may be. Some knowledge base I may be lacking. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to put that out there just to make sure y'all folks know ahead of time so you can see some of the reasons why I may be missing something or whatever. So it's all good. So here we go. We have a meta rig that actually it's 100% meta rig and the full rig that was created. So it has both the meta rig and the full rig. If y'all folks know how to use Rigify, you understand the terminology of what a meta rig is. If you don't know, then we'll go back to square one and I'll show y'all folks where I started out at before I got it to this point where you see all these colorful little circles and differing shapes and stuff like that. Now, what is a rig in general? What is a rig? If y'all folks never learned about anything in animation, what is a rig? Rigs are basically a way for a 3D modeler to gear into their actual design digital bones, and the bones will be utilized to pretty much map on top of the mesh or within a 3D mesh that you create for a character. Now, this actual design layout that you see in the viewport doesn't have a mesh in it, and I did that on purpose because I wanted y'all folks to see pretty much just the rig itself and the armature. So what can a rig do? A rig could actually be used to move all of the 3D mesh. So right now I'm moving the armature, and you see behind it, that's the meta rig back there. So I can play with that. I can take the meta rig and I can throw it in the background. I can delete it. I can do a lot of different things with it. What does the meta rig do? Pretty much a meta rig is something that you're going to use to build up the actual advanced armature that you're looking to create. The advanced armature is going to control all the mesh deforms. So whatever 3D mesh that you have, it's going to be able to control the mesh and give it higher advanced moverability or maneuverability when it comes to you being able to move around your character for animations. So right now I'm in pose mode and I'm just moving around. Let me use the select option here, and I'm just moving around the rig, or I should say the armature, and it's giving me the ability to maneuver it. So these are the things that you can do. In order to understand how to make all of those intricate things work, you have to understand the navigation systems and the controls through your mouse of Blender's viewport. If you don't understand that, then it's going to be very hard for you to even go to a certain point of getting the rig to work for you or the armature to work for you. So the rig, let me get to the meta rig. Let's get out of pose mode and go to object mode, and I'm gonna click on the actual meta rig and I'm gonna hide it. So I'm gonna hit the H key so y'all folks don't see it no more. Now it's gone. And we're gonna go back to edit mode after we click on the armature, or the, yeah, this is the advanced armature that the MetaRig created. So we're gonna go back to pose mode, and now you're gonna see that that MetaRig is gone. So some of this stuff the average person may not understand when they first start out with Rigify, because there is an actual development process, it's a build-up process to get to the point where you generate an actual rig off of the MetaRig, or you generate an armature slash advanced armature off of the MetaRig. So if you don't learn the beginning steps in the build-up process, then you're not going to be able to get to this point. And if you do get to this point, it's probably going to fail in terms of your mesh gaining all of the attributes that it requires for that advanced rig to control it. So that's the kind of stuff that it took me some time to figure out. I watched several videos on how to do Rigify, and it took me some time to understand, and basically to break it down to the point where I can control what I wanted to control, and where I can get things to work. As you can see, I'm doing leg lifts or whatever, knee lifts, and this is the IKFK controls for the legs. Let me go back, use Control Z to go back, and you also can use pose and then go to clear transform and clear all your transforms. If you say you took things out of place and you really screwed up something, you go to pose, go to clear transform, and go all, and it should, let's go to location or rotation. Let's go to clear transform scale. All right, that didn't work. Let's go to clear transform and reset unkeyed. So that one actually worked better. So you go to pose, clear transform, and then reset unkeyed, and that resets everything if you thrown things out of whack too far, and you don't want to use Control Z to go back all the time. So that works for that. You have a face rig that's really powerful. In order to get the face rig to work through the MetaRig, when you first start out, it takes some intricate edits that you have to do. Now, one thing I want y'all folks to know, like I said, this video is not a how-to, it's just more of experimentation, playing around with the Rigify tool. So what I want y'all folks to know about this is that when you first start out, you want to go into edit mode. That's the very first thing you want to do. No matter what size the actual MetaRig comes in at, it's generally going to come in as a very tiny size here. So we're going to do Shift A, and Shift A is just another way of adding. You can use this add option here by clicking in the upper left area where you see the tool area, and you go to armature and go, say you wanted to bring in a bird, a cat, a horse, a shark, a wolf, basic humans, or whatever. It's all up to you what you want to bring in, but I'm going to bring in a human MetaRig. When I bring it in, you'll see that it's very small, and we cannot see it right now because we're in a dark black background. So let's bring it up in terms of lighting, and we should be able to see it. Okay, so it brought it in right here, and it's good that it brought it in that position. Y'all folks are seeing that it's somewhat floating above this actual armature here. So the MetaRig versus the armature, right? So you see it, and see both of those in a differential of distance and placement. Now, a good thing to know and take to note is that where this actual cursor, you see this circle thing, this is called a 3D cursor. Where the 3D cursor is positioned will determine where that armature will be placed at. So when the armature comes in, your 3D cursor will determine where that armature is going to be inserted in or added into your viewport on Blender. So you have to realize where you want it to be. What I think is the best way and the most effective way to get your armature to work out in terms of the advanced armature, once you get it generated, you want that actual MetaRig to come in at the 0, 0, 0 position. When I'm saying that and I'm stating that, I mean where you see the green line and you see the red line, right? Those crosshairs right there is also known as the origin point. where everything originates when it comes to importing objects. So your origin point would be right there at the very 000 position for, let me see another way to explain it. We're going to use the shift key and the S key, and that allows you to snap things into view. So it's also known as the world origin. I meant to say world origin. Sorry about that. So it's known as the world origin point. So the world origin point is the 0 in the X direction, the 0 in the Y direction, and the 0 in the Z direction, or also known as the Z direction. So for your 3D viewport, if you want your actual 3D cursor to land there, you can use the snap option, which is Shift S, or you can go to, I believe, Object, and then look for Snap. And Snap will be under the Apply. You can go to Transform, Set Origin, Mirror, Clear, Apply, and then Snap is like the 6th option under it. So this is the manual way to get to it. And you do Cursor to World Origin. So if you, like I said, if you want to start out, you're starting out from scratch, you're getting your meta rig set up, you want that meta rig to be positioned in the most prime best position, you want that 3D cursor to be in the world origin. If you don't do that, 9 times out of 10, your development process of getting your full-fledged rig, which is this armature type rig, the advanced armature, it won't be located in the right place. So placement and position is really crucial when you're trying to develop your Rigify rig / advanced armature. So a good example. So what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this advanced armature, and we also going to get rid of this small little guy, tiny meta rig. So we're going to delete that. Now we're going to start off from scratch. So this is how Blender would start out. Generally, it's going to have a little tiny cube. Let's put a cube in there. So we're going to go Shift S, Cursor to World Origin, and then we're going to do S, well, not S, we're going to do Shift A, which is Add, short for Add, and then we're going to add a cube in there. So basically, this is how Blender would start out. Your camera is going to be like shifted all the way here, and it's going to be this little pyramid type of shape camera. I have an actual, I turned my cube, I should say, into this camera shape by doing some modeling, basic modeling, which I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert in modeling, 3D modeling, but I do know to some degree how to utilize Blender to come up with some basic shapes. So that's what I came up with that, and I parented it to the virtual camera, which pretty much will project what you aim the camera at to project. So say I wanted to rotate in the Z direction, aim the camera down or something, rotate in the Z direction. I'm using the R key to rotate, and then rotate in the Y, or hold on, let's see, rotate in the X direction and aim it down. Now it's going to look at the corner of this rectangle, or not rectangle, but cube. We're going to rotate in the Y, and we'll hit the 0 key. So basically, that's how the camera stuff works. Some people don't know how it works starting out, but the camera is going to help you to get your render how you want to render. Like if you're in a studio and you're trying to use a video camera or a regular advanced camera, smartphone camera, whatever type of camera you're trying to record and or collect images, capture images, as if you're a photographer, right? So we're going to back out. Now, that's how Blender starts out. You also have a lamp. You know, your lamp could be anywhere, it doesn't matter where it is. And your viewport is empty of whatever you want. Maybe you're missing certain things. You want to have a really full-fledged character, 3D avatar, etc. You want to create a huge amount of things in your scene. You want to have really nice background stuff, catchy stuff. All those things are going to be missing when you start out, right? So I just wanted to cover that part. This is how it starts. So to go past that point, obviously you're going to have to learn modeling, or you're going to have to get an external tool to help you to bring in some sort of a 3D assets. So you can bring in an avatar or a humanoid, or maybe you can bring in some kind of robot or a creature or something that has features that you can actually apply digital bones to and animate it. So that's that kind of stuff that you would have to think of ahead of time as a Blender student slash Blender modeler or Blender artist. That's the thought process in mind, right? So let's delete that cube. That's why most people will delete the cube and then they'll start going on into modeling or doing other things. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna bring in a model. So we're gonna go in and bring in, let's see, I'll bring in one of my models. Actually, to tell you the truth, I don't have a model that doesn't have bones. I have most of my models have armatures. So I'm gonna have to go in and get a model from scratch. So we'll do that. We'll go into MakeHuman because I love to use MakeHuman. MakeHuman is an awesome tool, 3D asset creator, character generator, character creator, and you can go in and you can create those things from scratch. It starts out with a base mesh, obviously, so they auto generate a base mesh for you and then you can go in and customize. And I did a lot of videos about that already, covering that subject. But I want to do one where I don't have any armature. So I'm going to do that right now. And I apologize for it, you know, not being up and ready to run, but I didn't plan on having that set and run. So this is all, like I said, experimentation. So we got MakeHuman. MakeHuman's running up. It's actually known as the MakeHuman community tool. I apologize also for the character being a character that's nude, doesn't have any clothes or whatever, but this is just, you know, just for testing, just to show y'all folks what's possible. So we're gonna go in and try to put on some boots, try to put on some clothing for the character. We'll make it a female character. We'll put a skirt in there, and actually, you know what? Let's just go with a suit. Suit is easy. Take off the skirt, and we will deck her out. Not deck her, literally deck her, but we'll deck her out and give her some attributes. So we'll apply a little height. She's going to be a little tall. We will go in and try to apply some skin. So let's see, female skin. We'll give her some female skin. We'll zoom her in. And let's see. And we're live, by the way, folks. So I really do appreciate y'all folks, whoever's tuning in. Hopefully this doesn't crash, fail, or whatever. Sometimes I have that experience. Let's go in and we're gonna go for hair. Gonna add some hair for her. Throw this in there. Doesn't really look that great. Let's see. All right, we'll just do that hair. That's not that bad. She does look funny. Let's see. We'll just use her like that. We'll change the boots. Let's get rid of the boots. And we'll give her some shoes that kind of goes with the suit. Maybe these shoes. I don't know. So there she goes. That's her. We don't have to go into defining the face and all of that stuff. I'm not worried about that. Now, generally, if you wanted bones, you go over here to this pose/animate, and you would go to default. But we're going to leave it at none. And we're going to actually send the character in. We're going to go to the community, go to socket. This is the new advanced version of Blender Community 1.2.0 Alpha 2 version. And what we're going to do now is just send her into Blender as we see. So once you go to the community, go and connect the socket, you can go to Blender, open up your add-on. Hopefully you got this add-on. If you haven't, you can check my video for it. I'll try to link y'all folks to it eventually in the description area for this video. So try to come back at a later time, maybe later today, 2 hours or so later, after the video is actually uploaded to YouTube 100%, then it'll be in the description area, or you can check back in my playlist. I should have a playlist as well dropped in there. So for Blender per se, for this series. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go down and we're gonna send her in. We'll send her in at the meter level. You can send her in, or any of those character levels. You can send them in as a decimeter, as a centimeter, or a meter size, and they'll come in based on the sizing. This particular sizing is going to be very small because it's the meter, which is the smallest size. And actually, before we do that, let's restart. We're going to go to general, and I'm just going to restart so my positioning of my camera and everything is reset. And then we'll pull it back up. It's going to be a meter size. We're going to go down to import human, and the human character should come in. Now I've been having this error, but it may not cause too much of a problem. Actually, it did cause a problem. Been having this error for this actual tool where I'm not able to get the full character in for some reason. So if you experience that error, what we're going to do, we're going to go to Files, go to Export, and we're going to export as a wavefront object file. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want the bones. And I can go to Pose, I can put that like I showed y'all folks, to default if I wanted the bones, but I don't want the bones. I just want the wavefront object, and with that I can go in and I can pretty much work on adding the armature to it. So we're going to go wavefront object, we're going to hit these 3 tiny dots, and that's going to give me the ability to send it to a specific folder on my computer. So now we're going to go in and maybe create a folder for her. We can do that. We'll just call it let's see, I don't know if we want to give her a name. Maybe we should give her a name, but she's not really detailed, and this is just a test, so we're going to do Rigify test and just call it that. Call it Rigify test 1, and double click that folder and then call her Sandy. I don't know, Sandy. Save it, and that's going to go to that Rigify test 1 folder that I have in my MakeHuman subfolder on my computer. Now we're going to minimize, we're going to delete this, make sure this is empty, my collection area is empty, aka the outliner on Blender. And we're not going to use this add-on no more. We'll just send the add-on to the back and just use the view. And what we're going to do is go to File and go to Import and bring in an object file. Wavefront object file is the file type. And then what we're going to do is go to Documents, hit this up arrow, go to 3D Objects, which is a subfolder I created on my computer, and go to MakeHuman, which is another subfolder, and then go to Rigify Test and bring up her object file. Now keep in mind, MakeHuman is going to create for you the textures. So all the textures that you saw that I added to her, once that character was base mesh, nude, whatever, then I added all the differing clothes and stuff like that. All of that is just texture files that's going to be added, that was created by some other more developer type or 3D modeler / 3D artist in the MakeHuman community. So they created that stuff for us. So textures will be here. It's going to be in a subfolder known as textures. They're going to send us an MTL file and an object file. So we're going to go to object file, I'm going to import, and I'm not worried about what it's set up as, but we'll go in and we'll start working on other things. So it came in as a pretty large file, as a pretty large 3D model. We're going to scale her down to the camera size, which is around there. Scale her down a little bit more because when I bring in the armature is going to be pretty small. Now, if you watched any of my previous videos, you're going to realize that when you bring in the object file, it's actually going to come in raw. This actual mesh is raw, meaning that it doesn't have a smooth surface. So if you want to smooth that down, you can click on the actual full mesh, go to Object, and then go to Shade Smooth, and then that should smooth down the issues that she has. You have to go into every little portion if it has multiple portions as well and do that for every portion. But I think it's done for everything because this object file has everything grouped together in one. We'll go to the eye brown, we'll go to the material, and then we'll change the settings here from blend mode opaque to alpha blend. That should fix her eyes. And her hair, let's see if we can get to her hair material. Don't see her hair material. This is the suit. What is this here? Okay, so these are just files right here that you see in the properties, and these files are representative of the 3D assets that we have here that are built in. And this, like I said, this particular character has multiple assets tied into one, and it's not separate assets. So when you click on the actual 3D mesh, everything's going to be highlighted as one. It's all meshed together. So that might actually work really well when it comes to trying to use the meta rig. So what we're going to do now, we're going to use the Shift and A key and bring in the armature for Rigify. We're going to go to Human Meta Rig. So I just showed y'all folks the process of getting a character in from a third-party tool, and that was pretty easy for me to do, right? It didn't take too much work. And that's the benefits of using MakeHuman, or maybe you're using Mixamo Fuse or Adobe Fuse, or they have the Autodesk character generator software. They have many different tools. They have what is known as the Manuel Bastioni Lab, which I made a video about that as well. And they have many different tools that can help you to do it. They have DAZ 3D. It's up to you what you choose. Now, what we want to do, either you want to take your character and scroll it, scale it down, or you want to take the meta rig and scale it up. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, the meta rig needs to be in edit mode. If you don't switch to edit mode after you bring the meta rig in, you're going to screw up your actual final product, which is the advanced armature. Is not going to be shaped or positioned in the right orientation, and it's not going to have the right scale. It's going to be all out of whack, and then you're going to really be pissed off, because whatever you did to adjust the meta rig will be a wasted project. So keep that in mind, folks. So what we're going to do, before we scale it up, we want to go and look for the actual pivot point positioning. So what you want to do is pivot off of the 3D cursor. If you pivot off of the median point, the individual origins, the active element, or bounding box centers, those are going to cause some issues for you to scale up. So if you want to scale up from the ground surface, or the ground plane surface where you see the differing axes, the green axis, the y-axis, and the x-axis, the red axis, then basically you're going to go off of the 3D cursor. So we're going to pivot off the 3D cursor. Once you set that up, then you can use the scale key to scale her up, or not her, but the armature. But before you do that, like I said, switch from object mode to edit mode, and now the armature should be set to be able to scale without you having any errors, major errors in what you chose to generate. So we're going to go and use the S key, scale this up to around where her head is at, and then we're just going to navigate to try to get her in a good position, or get the bones in a good position. So scale again, and you want the head bone portion to somewhat just surpass slightly the top of her head, or his head, whatever your character is. Now, another thing is that once you get that set, it's going to take some time to figure out how to get the face rig to fit the actual face. But when you get everything working, trust me, it's going to really work well. So what we're going to do now, what we're going to do at this point, we're going to generate the rig, just so y'all folks can see what it will do without me having to go into fine-tune details to get everything working. Watch this stuff. This is pretty awesome, because I started to experiment and play around with the Rigify tool and try to break down the elements slowly but surely, making one error after the next error after the next error. And after trial and error, you start to work through every little issue that you can possibly create, and then also work backwards and forwards to figure out why and how to go the right direction, what directions you should go with your rig and your rigging of the usage of the Rigify tool. So what we're going to do now is go to this properties area here, which you hover over it, you'll see it says properties, which is this little icon where the blue area is. So you go there and you go for the properties for the rig, and that's the object data, which you have this little man icon, looks like a running man or whatever. You click that, and that gives you the ability to do different things with the rig. Now, you cannot generate the rig in edit mode. It won't allow you to generate the rig in edit mode. So you got to go out of edit mode to object mode. Now, this is not the technique that you're supposed to use to get it done. in terms of getting the accurate rig to work. So keep that in mind. I'm just experimenting. I'm showing y'all folks what the results will look like if you did it the wrong way, obviously. So say your bones are out of place like mine's is, you're not positioned properly, the face is not positioned where the bones and all that stuff is supposed to be at, etc. Say something is not positioned properly, because all that you have to do in edit mode. You have to reposition the bones, you have to use the X mirror, you have to do all kinds of different things. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to generate the rig while I'm in object mode. Click generate, and you'll see that the rig is going to come, or the armature is going to come in to view and into the right scale. So this is the first portion that you have to surpass in getting your Rigify to work right. So I just want y'all folks to see this. So it may say not responding in the upper left corner, whatever. It's all good. What I'm looking for is the sizing. The sizing is what counts and matters a great deal. So here we go. Now we got the Rigify armature from the meta rig, and you can see when I started the video, this is what I got, what I had. But I did not have an actual 3D mesh of a character, right? So I just want y'all folks to see that. So we're gonna phase her out. We're gonna hide her so you can see where I started before. And you can always hide or how would you say, bring back the character by using the H key and also using the alternate H key on your keyboard. So I'll do alternate H and I should be able to bring her back. There we go. That brought her back. And as long as you're highlighted, selected on that actual mesh piece, or say you're on the armature or bone or whatever you're doing, depends on what type of mode you're in, you're going to be able to hide those particular parts, 3D asset parts. So that's how that works. So now what we're going to do, now that we hid her, all we want to do is just show y'all folks to get back to that point that I was at. So what we're going to do is click on the meta rig. We're going to hide that meta rig as well. And now we're going to click on the advanced armature, and we're going to go from object mode to pose mode. So why did I go to pose mode? Well, pose mode is basically the mode that you should be in when you're trying to pose your character to create animations. So this mode is really not going to be useful much unless you got your rig really set up properly. You got your armature set up properly, or your digital bones per se. And as long as the character has been weight painted and everything is done properly in terms of automatic weights. If you're using automatic weights, you're going to have some issues 9 times out of 10 using a third-party character outside of Blender. And most people are going to do that. They're going to use third-party characters, or if they have the modeling skills, they're going to build it from scratch. Now, if they have the modeling skills and they built it from scratch, they're going to go in and then they're going to use what is known as vertex groups to create their actual 3D model, and in terms of gearing the 3D model to have an armature, because vertex groups tends to be the errors that is going to be caused when you're using automatic weights. And how do I know that as a student? Well, I try to dig as much as I can and research as much as I can, and I found that on an actual YouTube video that I watched, where the 3D modeling instructor showed how to correct those issues of automatic weights. So when you're using automatic weights to weight paint and weight down your actual armature so that it ties to the digital mesh, the 3D mesh, some of the mesh parts are going to be distorted and they're not going to be connected. And some areas are going to move when you didn't want them to move, or some areas are not going to move when you do want them to move. So that means that it's not weight painted properly, and the vertex groups is the main hardcore issue. So I'm not that versed in it. I'm not that great at that particular thing, but I watched the video. I learned a lot from it, and I can gear y'all folks to that video. It stems from the actual channel. What is his name? Blender Guru. The Blender Guru's channel. It stems from him. He owns, an actual website. So I can go to his website. I don't know if it's blenderguru.com, but it may be. So let's go over there and check and see. And my live stream has errors. Not sure why. Well, it's still on, but for some reason my live stream is having errors. It's all good. So we're gonna go to Blender Guru.com, and we want to see if this is the website. Yep, this is the website, and I found it off of BlenderGuru.com, off of some tutorials he has here, and he has tutorials on pretty much the fundamentals of rigging and understanding how the character rigging works and stuff like that. So I went into the tutorials. You have to dig into it, and I clicked over here where it says tutorials, and eventually I found it, and it was pretty interesting. It was something that stood out to me as something that I really needed to know. So I went in, I had to go to older, I believe, and I kept digging to see what else he has in terms of animation / rigging, and that was the stuff that helped me. So he didn't actually do the video. It was from another 3D modeler / instructor, and someone that was really professed in the arena. So I'm getting closer to it, I believe. Let's see, it's somewhere down here. It's an older video, so it's way back. Here it is, right here. Introduction to rigging. So in the introduction to rigging portion is where I actually found it. So this first part is where it depicts and it talks about the issue here for the automatic weights and weight painting, and it shows the particular instructor's name is known as Andrew Price, or let me see, no, Andrew Price is the owner of Blender Guru, not the instructor here. The instructor here is Lee Salvameni. Sorry if I messed up your name, Lee, but yeah, he gets all the credit for these videos, and these videos are really hardcore at helping people to learn rigging from using Rigify, mostly because he shows how to use Rigify to some degree, and you go in and you try to learn some of that stuff about the automatic weight painting and issues like that. I think that's what he did. He used Rigify. So other than that, I don't know why my live stream health is bad. It shouldn't be that bad, but I can go in and try to figure out what's going on with it. But let's go back to Blender, and let me jump into my YouTube live session on my smartphone and see if it's actually running. So hold on one second. See what I can do with that. Go to my channel and let's see if it's up and running. Oh, it's running. Alright, so it's all good. So now we're back to Rigify. We're back to playing around with the Rigify tool. So what we're gonna do now, since I got y'all folks to that point, I just wanted y'all folks to see where I got this knowledge base from. What we're gonna do, we're gonna hit the get out of pose mode, go to object mode. We're gonna hit the alternate key and H key and bring her back. So now that we got all of that working, what we want to do is try to gear this rig, whatever we see here, into tying to her bones, even though they're not in the right positions. So what we're gonna do in order to do that is we're gonna go to this pose rig area, position, rest position, all the stuff that you see right here where I went to object data. We're gonna go and click some other area instead of these layers that you see, because you can activate all these layers. These layers actually are layers for the rig. So whoever developed the Rigify tool, they created these layers for the rig so you can be able to hide stuff behind certain layers and expose it. So we're just gonna click on this one here, which brings up an advanced actual deform. I believe it's the deform bones that you're gonna need and you're gonna actually be able to utilize to make this work. So let me scroll down real quick and try to hide the meta rig, because I don't want the meta rig to be visible. Get rid of the meta rig, and all you're gonna see now is that, let's see, let's go back to the armature. All you're gonna see now is the default, not default, but the the deform rig. So this is the deform rig here. So that's what you're seeing here. So you want that selected. Make sure you're in that particular what they call it, that layer. And then you're going to go to edit. I don't think you have to go to edit mode. You go to pose mode. You go to pose mode and it's going to turn to green. And you want to select all in pose mode. When you select all, the reason why you're doing this is to get the automatic weights to work 100%. So you can gear the automatic weights to allocate the bones on top of, or connect the bones to the actual 3D mesh. So we're going to go out, go to object mode, and we're going to select the 3D mesh after using the shift key. And now you got them both selected. See, they highlighted in orange. Now you're going to use the control key and P key and try to parent it. If it doesn't work this way, you do it the opposite way. So you'll select her, and then you'll select the armature using the shift key and left click mouse button, and then do control P. But at this point, I tried it this way. I like to do it by going back to pose mode after I selected it that way and do control P. Now it's going to allow you to set the parenting for automatic weights. So we'll do that, and when you do that, it's going to translate all of the data controls for that deform from the meta rig, or not the meta rig, but the deform rig portion of the bones to the mesh, and it's going to connect everything together as approximately as it possibly can. Now the reason you're going to have some mesh issues is because the bones are not lined up in the center positions of all of the mesh that you're seeing here. The bones actually have to be seated in the center positions of every little aspect that you want to move and you want to animate. So as you can see, none of the bones is positioned correctly, right? So whenever you have bones not in the correct positions in the center pieces, and I'm not talking about the face rig. The face rig is a little bit different. The bones for the face rig have to partially cross the accurate points on the face. So like this little nose point right here has to partially cross the nose point here when you bring it into perspective in terms of scaling or repositioning and how you choose to reposition it. Another thing with the face rig can be broken. If anything of the face rig is broken, meaning if you move things out of perspective, out of place, out of translation, and out of position, you're going to break the face rig, and then it will ruin your whole entire face rig. So your actual generation of your Rigify, that output of that advanced armature, it won't work. So when you try to generate it from the meta rig, it won't work. So I'm talking about how everything has to be done back to the meta rig portion before you generate stuff in terms of editing. So I just wanted y'all folks to know that. Some people don't understand that part, and they may mess up the face rig and then realize at the tail end that the Rigify did not work, that the tool didn't work, didn't give them the controls that they want, and everything is all messed up. So I'm going to be doing future videos and helping people to understand how to do that and fine-tune details, because I was able to do it, I committed to it, and it took me some time to figure it out, and I got a lot of good results on that. So I have different techniques of scaling and proportionality to get the face rig to fit without going too crazy. So I'll help y'all folks in the future with that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to get to the point where I can be well versed in it, in this arena, and be able to really help people to understand their issues, their problems that they have. Problem solving is really, really important, and that's a way for you to be able to, you know, get things to work. Troubleshooting, problem solving, that's something that I like to do, and experimentation. So now you should see something work in terms of the body working. Now we're in the deform section, so you have to go back into bringing these layers up. So you no longer need to deform armature. So we're going to get out of the armature for deform, and we're just going to click anything else, and that will disappear. So we'll click this one, and now this control for the face comes up. So we're going to bring up all of these. Generally you can use the shift key and just hover over these, and they should highlight. but mine's is not working for some reason. Well, now it's working, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. I don't know. The upper portion isn't working. The bottom portion is. See that? There's other deform rig types and all kinds of different stuff. It's really advanced stuff that they use to create the Rigify, and I'm not that knowledgeable on how they did everything, but I'm somewhat I understand how some of this stuff works. So now that we use the automatic weights, what it did is it tied these bones or the armature controls to the mesh. So watch, you're gonna see now that I can control it. Right here in the upper left corner, this control tool area, you have to change it from select box to select, because sometimes that gets kind of crazy. Select allows you to move and manipulate. So now I can move her and manipulate it even though everything is not accurate. You see what I'm saying? So I wanted y'all folks to see you can still get something working even though the bones are not in the accurate positions. So I'm still able to play around and do stuff. See that? And here goes the hand controls. Look at that. You can even move the hands. It's crazy. So that's how powerful Rigify is. Rigify is really, really powerful. Let's see the neck. We're going to rotate the neck. Look at that. Rotate in the Z direction. It's not exact because everything wasn't positioned right. But look at that. I could rotate the head still, even though I didn't have it in the right position. Pretty powerful stuff. Here goes the eyes. The eyes are obviously not going to be positioned properly. Look what is moving now. I want y'all folks to see this. This is really powerful. So what it's moving is where the eye bones was actually closest to in the mesh. So it's moving this. So let's do rotate in the Z, and look at that. It's moving that part of the mesh. So that obviously tells you that you have to be very accurate with the face rig in order to get the part of the mesh of the 3D avatar moving that you want. Now, one of the things that's not good about this object file from MakeHuman is that everything's tied together, so I can't really separate the eyes, I don't think. So let's go to what I'm talking about. I'll show you folks what I'm talking about. We'll go to object mode and we'll go to the eye and we'll try to move the eye. We're going to go rotate in the Z direction, and you can't even move the eye. See, I selected the eye and I can't move it. Instead, when I select the eye here, it's moving the whole entire body. So I'm not sure exactly where I would find each of the body parts. I don't even think I can go into the separate body parts. We can probably go to vertex groups and try that, but I doubt it. We'll see. We'll go in and try to find the eye, and I don't even see it. Let's go to the head maybe. I don't see it here. So yeah, it's not the best way to manipulate and to work with it. So what I recommend for y'all folks to do, go to the MHX2 export mode and don't add the pose or skeletal position for default. Just leave it none and try to bring that rig in like that. Or not rig, but try to bring in the mesh in like that. So let's go to files and we'll do sandy.mhx2 and try to export that as a MakeHuman Exchange format. Then you're going to make sure you have the add-on for MakeHuman Exchange. If you don't have the add-on on Blender for the MakeHuman Exchange, then you won't be able to do what I'm going to do now, which I'm going to show y'all folks. So I'm going to delete all this. We'll go File, go to General. So we go back to Scratch. Now we're going to hit this little arrow here and try to go to the MHX2 Runtime tool, which imports the MHX2. Now generally you have to go to Override Exported Data, which I talk about in most of these videos on how to bring in the MHX2 character version. And the benefits of bringing in the MHX2 version is you're going to have separate 3D model parts. So every part of the character will be separated. So we're not going to do the override exported data. The reason why you would do that is to get the shape keys and get all the controls that you want, the armature, advanced armature, etc. We're not worried about that. We're just going to bring in the character. So we're going to go to 3 objects, go to MakeHuman, and then go to that character that I created, which is it's a, let's see, Rigify test 1 and sandy.mhx2. We're going to go to import, and we're going to bring her in. Now she comes in, and you'll see over here in the select the scene collection and the actual outliner area, you're going to see that she has multiple layers. So now you can control her eyes separate from the body. And let me go and change up the OPEG and make it alpha blend. There goes the eyes. So say I wanted to rotate the eyes at this moment, I can do rotate in the Z direction, and I can rotate the eyes. This is actually not the way you want to do it, but I'm just showing y'all folks that you can rotate it. You would have to go in edit mode and play around and do different rotations if you want to do that, and try to create shape keys and all that. That's that kind of stuff. I didn't get into any videos on really detailing how to use the shape keys for MakeHuman, but I did create videos in the past talking about that stuff to some degree. I really didn't show, because like I said, I am a student still, so I'm not going to go too far with that. But eventually, once I get better at it and I really get well versed in how to use shape keys and how to really create the shape keys that you want for facial features, facial structures, expressions, and all that, I'll get into that as well. So I do understand it though. I understand how it works. So there we go. We got that running. And what we're going to do now is bring the Rigify in and do it again. So we're going to do Shift A, bring in the human meta rig. It's going to be very small. I'm going to go to edit mode and make sure that we are pivoting off of the 3D cursor, and we're going to scale her up, her meta rig, and bring it all the way up here and do the same exact thing that I did. So now we got the armature in again. This time it's closer to the face shape. Let's just play around with the face shape just to get the eyes in there. So we in edit mode. We can actually maneuver to get the eyes to match if we wanted to. So how do we do that? Let's hide her. So let's go to object mode, click on her, hit the H key, hide the body, and just leave the face up there like that. So we also going to go back to edit mode, but we have to click on the armature, go to edit mode for the armature, and we're going to isolate certain things. So what you want to do is use the C key to isolate. We're going to depress the mouse scroll wheel, and that deactivates everything down here, and it just it keeps this active. Well, actually, let's use the Control Z key and do it the opposite way. So now we're going to deactivate these and leave these active. So what we're going to do with those is just hide it, and now we have a focus only on the head. See that? So now we isolate just the head, and now we can go in, and with that full isolation, we can really detail how we want the face rig to work for the face. So let's use the A key to select everything. See that? And just to make sure everything else is deactivated, we will also go to object mode, and we're going to select the boots and hide that, just to see if the rest of the armature is hidden. Now we're going to click the armature, go back to edit mode, and yes, the rest of the armature on the bottom is gone and nothing else is there. We don't want anything else to move, pretty much. The benefits of hiding stuff is that those bones are not going to get edited that I hid. So now what we're going to do is try to get the best accurate sizing for these bones. And in the meta rig editing mode for the meta rig, that's basically what you're supposed to do. So we're going to go hit the S key, scale it down, and try to get the nose to fit to some degree. See that? And then we're going to rotate this way and we're going to scale it. Use the scale option. Try to bring the 3D cursor here. Use the scale option, and we're going to scale that way. Well, actually, we don't want to scale off of the 3D cursor, so we have to change the pivot point to median point, so we can scale from the middle, the midsection. So now we basically are scaling this down to size so it could fit. See that? So we're fitting the head pretty much. And now we're going to play with the move option. We're going to bring the jaw up to that point where you see the jaw point right there, that little dot. And now we will scale down from the top of the head. We'll bring this down a little bit. Well, let's scale it up just to see where the top portion is, and then scale it down. Alright, so another thing we can do, we go out of edit mode, go back to object mode, and we're going to hide her head. Okay, so now we can see other things like the eyeballs and stuff like that. So now we're going to go back, click the armature, and then go back to edit mode, and now we're going to gear in the eye positioning. So let's shift over this way, and we're going to full isolate a lot of other things because we want to bring these eyes right here down to the eyeballs. So we're going to take the C key, deselect all of this, move it around, and pretty much, actually we needed to have this part. So use the shift key, select the ears back. We want to get in there, get the whole entire ear piece. So let's see if I got that right there. And what else do we want? I think we got everything that we want selected. So the nose piece we probably do not need to move. So we're gonna deselect, hold on one second. We're gonna deselect some of the nose pieces that we don't need. Like those, basically. We don't need to move those, and we don't need to move that one. So now we're gonna try to drop that down a little bit, and let's see what we can do. Well, the scale's not moving good, so we're gonna move it down like that. At least get it closer to the eyes. And now we have to activate this part. Let's see. Trying to deselect that. Alright. So now we got to activate that part and bring that part down a little bit. And that broke the face rig, so we don't want to do that. Control Z, Control Z. Actually, we did something very wrong. There we go. So this point right here moved down a little bit too far, and we didn't want that to happen. So it is going to give us some issues depending on where we're positioning stuff. So we may have to adjust other parts of the bones. You don't want, say like this point right here, you don't want this point to be moved out of position from the rest of the bone connections, because then that's going to break the face rig. Or any other joint, multi-joints, like there's multiple joints tied together, like these two, these three are tied together as a single bone joint for the nose bridge. And if they break connection, like I was saying before, you're going to end up ruining your face rig. So I just wanted to show y'all folks, you know, these are the kind of things that you're going to have to face. So another way to do it for the eyes, let's see, let's try to bring in her face again. So we're gonna go to object mode. Let's alternate H, bring in the face, and figure out how to move it to make it a little bit better. So we're gonna go move. Actually, no, we're not gonna go to move. We're gonna go to hit the armature. Let's bring the armature in. Go to edit mode, and then we're gonna select. Let's see, that's good. Select all, and we're gonna move this down. Maybe we can do it that way, so that the nose fits there, and then see where the eyes is at, and then adjust the jaw to move the jaw up. Yeah, that'll work a little better. That way I don't have to work too hard to get the eyes to fit. Alright, so we'll do it that way. And let's go out, go back to object mode, hide the face, and now we can see that it's much closer to where it should be. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, use the C key. I'm trying to highlight certain stuff. It won't work yet until I'm in edit mode for the bones. So go to edit mode, and we're going to deselect, and we're gonna hide pretty much everything except the eye sockets. Okay, let's try to hide that. Hit the H key and go in, Control Z, that was an error. So now we're gonna use the C key, highlight all this. Let's try to get this as close as we can get. C key, highlight that, deselect that one, and C key and highlight as much more that I can get in there, and then hide, and get that one selected and hide, and got that one selected and hide. Oh, it's that bone up there, and hide. Alright, so we got everything hidden, pretty much every little thing is hidden except for these eyes here. So now we're gonna hit the A key. Oh, actually we got one more bone over here. Hide that one. Reason why you're hiding is because, like I said, you don't want those other bones to move out of position, or else it's gonna throw off everything that you're trying to do. So we're gonna do hit the A key, right click, and now we're going to go to scale, and we're going to scale it in like so, scale it down, and move. We're going to move it, and now we're going to scale in like so, and pretty much with this, you want this bone, this part of the bone, to be sticking right out of the center of the eye, this bone right here. So you can always move it forward if you wanted. So go to move, and we'll move it forward and position it like so, and then just try to get it centered as much as you can. You can scroll in to see that little part of the bone stick out. You can also click the individual one, go up here, hit this tool at the top in the properties area, go to X mirror, and then it will move the other one, and bam, now it moves out of position like that. Now the other part that you're gonna have to do, let's back out, let's click anywhere else, and hold on one second, I got a call. Hey, what's up, baby? How you doing? Yeah, no. I'm just making a live session. I'm almost done. Yeah, I won't. I already did the letter. Yeah. Alright, babe. I'll see you. Alright, bye. Alright, so just to finish this off real quick, I'm almost done. So let's go to object data, and we're gonna we're going to alternate H and bring in the face. And then we're going to actually, before we do that, let's Control Z, bring that back. Go to edit mode, and we're going to select all on this part. That's really important to do. And then we're going to deselect this eye part and that eye part, because those are positioned pretty good, right? We want those to stay the way it is. So all I'm trying to do is move this forward so I can get it in a good position. So we go to object mode, use alternate H, and it brings the face back up. And now we're going to go back to edit mode, and we're going to bring it forward so it crosses the eye portions. See that? And now if you wanted to, you can go into fine-tune details to get these portions to fit the actual eyelash area, the eyebrow area, and whatever areas that you need to fit it in. So this is the kind of stuff that it took me some time to figure out. After training yourself using Rigify over and over again multiple times, you figure out what works best for you. And for me, this is the best way to work it. And actually, something went wrong. Let's go back to object mode, hide the face again, go to edit mode for the armature. Hold on one second. And look at what's selected. It looks like something is still selected here because it's moving everything. I don't know why it's moving everything. Shouldn't be doing that. So something's still selected. But I did my best with that particular part. Either way, it shouldn't cause a problem. Let's go to object mode, alternate H, and from this point here, what I'll do, I'll just try to rotate these inward to some degree. So we'll go to edit mode, and we'll deselect, and we'll just select the portions that we want. So we'll go to this here, and is this select? All right, that's selected properly. We'll use the 3D cursor, move it out the way, and we'll select, shift select this one, and then we'll rotate this on this particular plane like this. See that? And then that positions like so. And that's about it. And then we'll move a little bit up, and bam, that's that. We can also scale a little bit more just to fit it properly, and move it back a little bit so it fits in the skin like so. So that's the kind of stuff that you have to do. Once you gear that in and you do the rest of the bones, everything should work. Go to object mode, actually go back to edit mode, and we're going to deselect that and use the alternate H key and bring back all the rest of the bones. So there goes the rest of the bones in there, and we can do the rest with the chin and all that in the ear if we wanted to do that, and the head. But the most important part is the eyes, to get that position properly, and then the rest will fall into place. It's really not hard to do the rest in terms of scaling and positioning and all that stuff. So hopefully y'all folks like that. Now what we're gonna do, like we did before, everything's not in the right position. Say I wanted to save this work and I don't want to have to do that all over again. We go to save as, and we'll go to her folder, MakeHuman, what was the Rigify test 1, and then we're gonna call this sandy face. So we'll call it sandy face 1, and save as a blend file. That works out, so I don't have to redo the eyes. Everything's going to be done up to this point. And in my next session, I'll show y'all folks the full Rigify effect and everything. But what we're going to do, we're going to bypass all of that. Say we got all of that done. We're going to go to make sure we're in object mode, go to generate rig, and make sure the whole entire rig is selected. Go to generate rig, and you'll see that the advanced rig will come up with the eyes in that position right there. As long as you reposition everything in edit mode and you don't move anything in object mode for the rig, for the meta rig, you should be good. It should come up in the right position. So we're waiting for that. We'll see what happens with that. And bam, now we got that up and running. And you see how the eyes is all positioned properly. We got these eye controls and all that. Watch this. When you go to pose mode and you try to get these eye controls to work, it's gonna work. Make sure you're not in select box. Go to select and you'll see. Let's move it closer. Actually, it won't work yet. I forgot to do the automatic weights. So make sure you go over here while you're in pose mode. You go to the armature, and we're gonna just select the eyes. Let's do that. You use the C key, select this area and that area. You don't really have to do the rest of the face rig if you don't want, because you didn't really rig all of that stuff properly. So we'll just do that part. Deselect that, and we also want to try to gear in and select this one. Shift select, if I can get it in there. Actually, we're gonna have to go to object mode, hit the face, hide it, then hit the armature, go to edit mode, and then actually not edit mode, go to pose mode and select those individual portions, because if you don't select it, what's going on? Here we go. Get that one, and can't get in there for some reason. It's not giving me a good rotation. Alright, we got that in there. So the rest we'll do C, select those bones, and then rotate and select these. There we go. So all of those are selected. Now we can go back to object mode, hit the H key, alternate H, bring the face back in, and we're gonna select the face and then shift select the armature. Actually, we don't need the face. Let's select the eyes, and then eyes and face. Let's do eyes and face. Shift select both, and then select the armature. Then go back to pose mode, and we'll do Control P and parent with automatic weights. Now that should basically work. And now we'll go back out to object mode, click on the armature, go back to pose mode, and we should be able to control with the rig. Actually, we got to go back. Sorry about that. We got to activate the layers for that advanced rig. So I forgot exactly. Actually, this is the meta rig. Let's shut off the meta rig because the meta rig shouldn't be activated. So deactivate the meta rig and select the other rig. So there we go. We got that rig selected. Now we got to activate these layers. There we go. Yeah, the meta rig always has to be deactivated first. I forgot about that. So now we're gonna go to pose mode, and you should be able to control it now. The eye. Wow, it's not working. Alright, it's all good. Let's see if that works. I probably did it wrong because I had the meta rig still in there. And I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Usually you don't want to do that, but I'll be right back. Alright, I apologize, folks. I'm back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try that again. Go back over here. Actually, let's just do the full face. We'll do Shift A, the whole entire head. It's all good. We'll just do it that way. And then we'll go back to object mode, select the face and eyes, and we'll just select everything. I don't care. And we'll rig everything together. And then Shift select the armature, go to object mode, and then do Control P. I tried to isolate it. You can do isolation, automatic weights, so it only weights down just those isolated areas. But for shits and giggles, we'll just do it this way and see if this works. And let's see, it should work. Waiting for that to go through. Then we activate the bones again, or the armature. Okay, we got the armature activated, and now we should get the eye controls to work the eye. Yep, it's working now, but it's not working that great. Rotate Z. Okay, let's go and try to rotate the whole entire eyes. Rotate in Z. Let's see. Rotate Z. It's not really working that great. I don't know why. Rotate Z. Somewhere along the lines, something failed. Maybe I broke the face rig, and it's just not controlling properly. Like I said, if you make errors, you're gonna end up with stuff that's not working the way it's supposed to. Now I'm getting the actual, yeah, I'm getting some good control, but that's on the mesh. The mesh controls is working. See, it's moving the mesh, but the eyeballs are not moving. Is the eyeballs moving? The eyeballs are moving. It's weird. I don't know what's going on here. It's supposed to work a little bit better than this. Rotate. Rotate in Z. I don't see it moving that well. Alright, it's all good. Basically, if you do it the right way, according to these steps that I chose to do, it should work. But yeah, it failed. Crashed and burned. It's all good. So at some point I can go Control Z all the way back. The rest of the stuff should work still. See how that works. The head, that works. The feet should work still. Legs or whatever. Controlling the character. See how that works. Good. Right? It's not accurate, but it works. Other than that, that's all I got, folks. I just wanted to show y'all, folks, from my experimentations, some of the stuff that I discovered and what actually works and what doesn't work. What doesn't work is when your face rig fails because you broke some of the joints or you disconnected certain joints, then you're going to get this error that you're seeing now, which is the eyes will not be controlling or will not be controlled by the eye controllers. So the eye controllers are supposed to move the whole entire eyeball, but instead, let's see what it's doing. It's moving. Is it moving the eyeball? Well, it's not moving the eyeball correctly. It is moving the eyeball, but it's not moving it correctly. It's just, this is not a good connection. It's not the way it's supposed to work. But hey, it's all good. You get what you pay for. So I rushed it and I tried to get it done really fast. But other than that, that's all I got. And I'll see y'all folks in some pre-recorded videos on how to do this. Once I get it done, and all my little errors out of the way. You know, little voice inflections, little small little errors that I have up and down throughout the video. I'm gonna get all that edited out. This is a live session, so it's not gonna come out perfect, obviously. So, and also I'll show y'all folks every little detail of how I was able to rig a character using the Rigify from step 0 to the final steps, using my best techniques that I knew how to figure out based on what you just saw me do. That was just some of the stuff that I learned. It's not everything, but there's more to it. You can do more things. You can fix a lot of errors whenever you have joint disconnectivities. You can go back and Control Z backwards and figure out your errors and keep moving. And what I recommend for you to do is save all the way throughout the whole entire steps that you're doing, because saving is really the best technique if you're making errors along the way. And make sure you don't save after making an error. So Control Z back before you save. And or if you do save over something that you did great, what I try to do is I try to make different versions. So good example, I'll go to File, Save As, and I'll do Sandy Face 2 instead of save and overwrite right over Sandy Face 1. And then that way, if I made an error along the line somewhere, I can go back and default back to that point where I, had a really good version led up to that point. So other than that, that's all I got. And I'll see y'all folks in the next videos. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to hit the thumbs up. Feel free to smash the bell icon if y'all folks want to gear into my latest videos, because, hey, there's more to meets the eye. There's a lot of stuff to gather, a lot of stuff to learn. You can check my playlist in the video's description area. There's a link that's gonna be there for this actual series, and you'll be able to get to previous sessions that other people have created, not just me, because I like to curate content to my channel of multiple differing channels from different channels and stuff like that. So other than that, that's all I got, and I'll see y'all folks in the next videos. Peace.